Welcome to the Live Your Dreams podcast, where success leaves clues and someone has your answer. Joined as always with my lovely co-host, Miss Tia McKissick.
Hello.
Hello, Tia. How was your week last week?
Great. How was yours?
Oh, fantastic. Nothing less than exceptional. First and foremost, before we get started, let's help someone. Ladies and gentlemen, Fund and Grow. Go down to the description link and register for a free funding training from the good people at Fund and Grow. Again, fund and grow your business. Again, go down to the description link and register for a free funding training. All right. So, Tia, you had a good week?
Yes.
What was good about it, Tia?
Well, I had a good week with the working with the kids.
Yeah, always growing.
Spending time with family and shopping.
Absolutely. Good stuff. And again, this is our Christmas celebration, our first annual Christmas celebration podcast. You know, Tia, I grew up in the church. You grew up in the church. And one of the things you used to always hear around this season, what's the reason for the season?
Jesus.
Have you heard that before?
Right, yeah.
You used to hear that all the time. What's the reason for the season? But one of the things, as you and I, been married over 28 years, celebrating Christmas, it seems like our Christmas has been fueled with family and tradition.
Right.
Do you agree with that?
I think so.
Yeah, I think
As always, we, went to church and but we had family time too.
Yeah. And now it's almost like we pretty much bombard the day with family time. With every Christmas we go to the movies. Mm-hmm. Every Christmas Eve we all do some get together and spend time together. Now, when you think about the Christmas holiday and you think about living your dreams, what do you think is your main takeaway when you think about the Christmas holiday? What do you think it is?
Spending time with family and then, seeing our grandkids being happy, opening their gifts. And, us too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody like to have something.
I agree. And one thing when you think about the holiday season, and I know the holiday season sometimes, we've learned over the years, it's not a happy time for everybody.
That's true.
But I know one of the things we have begun to make it happy for us, because again, we have
each other, even though we don't have our parents anymore. Some people don't have, other family members, extended family members or spouse. Yeah, and it could be a sad time.
Yeah, and one thing I always said is to have friends, you have to become friendly. Right. And one thing that I've always realized, especially with the holiday season, I've always tried to give myself the gift of forgiveness, right? Because sometimes you think, you think, okay, somebody else is responsible for the plight I'm in, or someone else is responsible for the reason I'm the way I am. One thing when I think about Christmas, and hopefully this helps somebody, because I know my father, I didn't really know my father. And sometimes, because I talk to a lot of people, and sometimes they say, well, I'm like this because I didn't know my father. I'm like this because my father was an alcoholic. And, sometimes I could say, well, I'm this way because of my father. But I've always, I think early on in our marriage, or even before we were married, I was able to not hold a grudge on my father.
Right. It's not good to hold grudges.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the things, the best gift I gave myself was not to hold a grudge on my father because he wasn't there in my life. Because I understood life can be very unpredictable. Life can be very...
And it could have been rough for him too.
Bingo. And that's what I was going to say to you.
Sometimes you can't show love if it hasn't been given to you, or he might have went through something. You never know. He didn't tell you, so
that's exactly what I was going to say, is that you don't know what someone else was going through. And sometimes, this is what I always say, we're quick to forgive other people. But sometimes we're not as kind to ourselves to show that same grace or that same forgiveness to ourselves. So that's what I said. And it's amazing that you said that, because I said the same thing, is that you don't know what somebody's going through. So sometimes we could be very harsh or critical of someone else, but we don't realize what that person has went through.
We need to know that the Lord loves us and He forgive us for all our sins.
Absolutely. And I think that's where the key is. And that's why, especially during the holiday season, where I really accept the blessings and I accept the family fellowship and I accept the good times, because again, I think one of the main characteristics of the holiday is really realizing what you do have.
And you got to also give back to others.
Yep. And that goes back to the thing where I say, if you want friends, you have to be friendly. Because I think that's one of the things that sometimes we miss, is that we don't extend that friendship, or we don't extend that the grace or mercy or whatever it may be.
Or sometimes you feel like everybody got somebody just because you got somebody, but that's not true.
I like
or everybody live the way I live, but that's not true.
And I like that, T. And I think that's absolutely true. And I think once you start to realize that, I think that's when life becomes enjoyable, because you realize that all you have is that moment. I always say tomorrow's not promised, yesterday is gone, but all you have is today, the moment. And I think once you realize that this is what you have and you have to enjoy it, I think that's when life becomes precious.
And I think everybody should be grateful for your health, because we got some people in the hospital, can't even come home for Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going through things, and we complain about little things. I don't have enough money, or other things that's really little compared to someone else that's going through a health crisis.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, and I would definitely say about yourself, T, I got to give you your flowers, is that you have that, you're very compassionate. And I think you really realize that peace on life, where sometimes we take for granted what we have. And sometimes we don't realize how good we do have it. I'd never forget, I think it may have been Joel Osteen or T.D. Jakes who said it. They said, hey, it was a gentleman, or they said, hey, I don't like my life. It's boring, or it's quiet. And all of a sudden, all these tragedies start happening for them, these calamities. And then they wish that they had that quiet life, because they didn't realize how good they had it, because they thought they wanted this life of a glamour or a spectacular life. And then all of a sudden, once all these calamities happened, they realized that, hey, what I had was precious, and I didn't appreciate it. So sometimes you have to appreciate what you have, because you have to believe me, is that there are millions of people who wish they were in your position. They really wish they had what you had, especially if you're in the United States. So many individuals wish that they had that. And sometimes we take that for granted. And during the holiday season is when you really step back and say, I'm going to appreciate the family that I have. I'm going to appreciate what I have. Because again, just like that, everything can be taken away. So that's one of the things with the holiday, where I really try to take this holiday season and the traditions that we have, really embrace them, really make them grow more. Because again, this is really the time of the year where you really realize that, we're blessed. We really are. So let's take a quick break for our sponsors. Then we'll get back right there. Short Child Care, short name, long in service. That was Tom's quote. Ladies and gentlemen, Short Child Care does have a waiting list, but put your child's name on the waiting list, because spots do become available, and your child's name will be on the waiting list. Again, Short Child Care, short name, long in service, and Short Child Care is working hard to expand. Again, ladies and gentlemen, Short Child Care. All right, so Short Child Care, short name, long in service. So that's one of the things with the holiday season, Tia. We always think about, I think this time of the year makes you think about how blessed you are. When you think about Christmas, what does it mean to you, Tia?
Loving God and also your family, spending time, like you said, cooking, spending time, doing things together.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things about it, so what type of advice you would give to someone, say for instance, someone didn't have the family? What would you?
I would say get with some friends, or if you don't have friends, maybe a church.
Yeah.
In church home, and they'll be your family.
Absolutely. And I've seen that happen where, say for instance, you're, say, new to a city.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have your family around or friends around. You go volunteer at a church, a shelter, something, somewhere where you can help.
They probably got support groups and different things you can get into.
Yeah. And always, it seems like if you're ever in that predicament, the more you take the focus off yourself and you think about helping someone else, it really helps you out. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that?
That's true.
Yeah, and I've noticed that because it's been some times when I felt myself in that position. But once I take the focus off myself and put the focus on someone else, right, or trying to help someone else, it actually helped me.
Right.
It had a reverse effect. Although you think you're helping someone else, you're really helping yourself. And I think Tom, who taught me so much, always used to say, hey, I'm pointing at you, but 3 of the fingers coming back at me, because really when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself.
Right.
And Tom was really good at that, of really mastering that secret to success, when it's really about how do you get the most out of your life. And I think Tom really showed me the best way to do that. And I think I'm ever grateful. If you want to say on some of the best gifts I had, I think I'm ever grateful for him showing me that. Because, again, it helped me so much,
Right.
And, when you think about Christmas and, what it means to me, I think I share your enthusiasm with that, where it's about family, about friends, and it's about really taking that time to really think about how blessed you are. Because I know you, like I said, you have a gift where you're very compassionate for others. And I know you really take time to think and see how others may not be experiencing that level of success or going through some things. And I think that really elevates you and helps you out on how you appreciate your life, because you see how sometimes others aren't in that same position.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that kind of helped you out. So with that, and you think about the Christmas season, what do you think is probably the number one thing or the number one takeaway when Christmas is coming, or, what's the reason for the season? What do you think is the number one thing or the number one takeaway when you talk about Christmas for you?
Accepting Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the things about it. Now,
I used to hear them say that in church, and now that our parents gone, now you know that one day you won't be here. So you better get your life right.
Yeah, and I think as we take the place of your parents, because again, remember when we got married, your parents were our age.
Right.
Now we're at their age when they were, and we're starting to become the elders. And I think you're right. You start to realize that, life isn't forever.
Right.
And you want to make sure that you're living your life right, as you get older.
You leaving a legacy to
and
your
you're leaving
children.
a legacy. I like that.
Absolutely.
You want to live, and that's one of the things I like about the podcast, where you can leave this footage, because again, my grandmother, who is 96 now, I think that's where I became. When we first got married, I was a huge scrapper, where I would take pictures, videotapes, and we now have probably like 10 photo albums. But I think with the podcast is the same way, where now we're leaving something. So when we're not here anymore, our great-grandkids can watch the videos and see who you and I were, and actually can kind of model their life behind that. Because, again, sometimes the generation before you have to leave the blueprint on what's this thing about life about. Because I know when I was younger, you used to think about that, like, okay, what is this life about? And I think sometimes the older generations have to leave a blueprint. So at least the younger generations coming behind can kind of see what's this thing called life about, especially with the holidays, things like that. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things where I kind of like this, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate our relationship, Tia, because, again, I think having someone you can talk to during the holiday season, having someone that you can, I guess, relate with, right, is a blessing.
It is.
So I definitely appreciate that, and I appreciate our relationship that you and I have.
I do too.
Yeah, so I think that's probably the key. If you want to say what's one of the keys to life, or what's one of the keys to the holiday season and enjoying it, it's really having someone or people around you that you can enjoy it with.
Right.
Because I think that's one of the things that really helps you out.
Right.
So in conclusion, Tia, celebrating the Christmas season, mm-hmm. anything else you want to leave?
Enjoy your family.
That's it.
And have fun. Don't be so stiff and,
yeah, right. Have fun. Loosen up.
Loosen up.
Yeah, loosen up. And you helped me with that. Mm-hmm. You helped me with loosening up and really enjoying life, and don't take yourself or don't take life too seriously.
Right.
Because sometimes we can take life or ourselves too seriously and really miss it.
Right.
Miss the precious moment. Because life is really about this precious moment. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow's not promised. All you have is today. So I think that's one of the things. And thank you, Tia, for helping me with that. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And again, I really appreciate that. I can't say it enough. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the relationship. And I appreciate you helping me with that. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this holiday season, okay, enjoy your family. This holiday season, really let go, and really enjoy the people around you. Don't take yourself so seriously. Life is unpredictable, and you really don't know what tomorrow holds. So you really got to take today and enjoy today.
Right.
Right? And if you do, I'll see you. And yes, I do mean you. Living your dreams. Peace.